Hello and welcome to our very special edition of Full Fold. The last time he was on, it was called Stories from Motorsport. But now we got Larry Vic Reynolds on Full Fold. How you doing today, Larry?
I am doing great. Thank you for letting me join you. Very flattered to hang out with you for a little bit, Justin.
Yeah, so because uh you done this once before, I got some different questions for you today.
Perfect, perfect.
And so my first question is, um, how 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 does NASCAR and Fox communicate? Like, for I'll give you an example before you answer that. What I'm talking about is, do you guys have a spotter or something that communicates with NASCAR when pit road's open, or something like that when a caution comes out?
No, that's a great question. There is a designated person in the NASCAR control tower that communicates directly with our production truck. It's normally a girl, a lady by the name of Devin. She's been with NASCAR for a number of years, and she's in constant communication with a person in our truck. And she feeds a lot of information, like how many laps to go, for example, even on the pace laps. Before we take a green flag, 4 pace laps, 2 pace laps. She will tell them the caution is out. She will tell them pit road is open. She'll tell them we're coming to the 1 to go before restart. She will also give them the penalty cars. This driver got busted for speeding. This was a equipment interference. I also, in my booth, I have a hotline to her as well. If I question something like a penalty, I can pick up that phone and it rings straight to her, and she will clarify to me why they ruled what they did. So, yeah, there is constant communication. We really communicate a lot with NASCAR. Every Sunday morning, normally about 4 hours before the race, we get on a Zoom call, all the talent in our production group on a Zoom call with NASCAR. And it's just to kind of go over things about the race. How many sets of tires NASCAR is allowing them? Who's going to have to go to the rear of the field because of one thing or another? Who failed inspection multiple times? Like yesterday, getting ready for the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, we had a call with them that lasted about 30 minutes. We were just making sure as a broadcast team, we understood every different one of the different rules, because this is a special event with special rules. So really, the communication between NASCAR and Fox is pretty darn good, even before the race weekend, but especially once we get into the race itself.
So, very good. So let's dive into your year with NASCAR and Fox. So as you skated, North Wilkesboro is the All-Star race, and it also happens to be the last edition of NASCAR and Fox. So how do you feel about the All-Star race being it, where the Coca-Cola 600 and you guys have had Dover and a lot of other class that Prime Bill is now going to have?
Well, yeah, this year, because of all the different TV partners, our season went from 18 events, which included the Clash and the All Star race in the last few years. We were ending our year normally in Sonoma in mid June, but it got cut back to 14. We ended up giving up 4 of our race weekends. NBC ended up giving up 6 of their race weekends for a total of 10, 5 going to Amazon Prime that starts next week at Charlotte, and then the other 5 that's going to TNT Turner, which I'm actually going to be a part of those 5 weeks as well. Yeah, probably you hate to see our season come to an end. It seems like these 14 weeks went by like a blur. It seems like about a month and a half ago, we were rolling into Daytona, getting ready for the Daytona 500. I'm really going to miss not having the Coke 600 at Charlotte. That's kind of a marquee event. It's a crown jewel race, and we have done it for the last 24 years. So I'm really going to miss that. But I guess if you have to handpick our final race, if it can't be the Coke 600 at Charlotte, starting with the Clash at Bowman Gray this year, back in early February, and ending with the other special event, the All-Star race. Not that it's a perfect world, but I guess it's not bad to start with a special event and to end with a special event as we're doing this year.
So really, just talk to me about your belief in your team. Funny story, I actually ran into Jamie Little this weekend. Quite literally, didn't know who she was because I only saw the back of her. But who is your favorite person to work with on NASCAR on Fox? Out everyone you work with, who do you have the most belief in as a teammate?
Well, I've been with NASCAR on Fox, Justin. This is my 25th year. And I have worked with a lot of people on air and behind the scenes. And I have never found anybody that I don't enjoy working with, whether it's been in the studio in Charlotte, whether it's been at the racetrack, whether it's been pre-race, post-race, during the race. I enjoy everybody. I enjoy the booth we have right now, which is Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, and Clint Boyer. I enjoy our pit reporters, Regan Smith, Jamie Little, Josh Sims, our pre and post race folks, Chris Myers and Jamie McMurray. But probably it's like asking you to pick your favorite kid. You know, there's no such thing, but probably because him and I have been teammates and we've been together for 25 years. And maybe I'm a little bit prejudiced. He is the absolute best in the business. I'm not sure if he plans on retiring anytime soon, but when Mike Joy retires, somebody has got some very, very, very big shoes to fill. Mike and I mean, I've been with Mike over a third of my life, not a third of my career, over a third of my life. And him and I just have a special relationship and a special friendship. So if you made me pick, I enjoy working with everybody. It probably would be our play-by-play, our anchor, Mike Joy.
So talk to me real quick about your relationship with all your coworkers. You say Mike is your favorite, but when you hand it off to a pit reporter, how does that work? Does the producer tell you to hand it off to them, or like
it works both ways. Sometimes, you know, we have a box that our headset goes through that we have a talk back, and we can talk back to our producer. And a lot of times I will push my talk back and go, I want to tee up one of the pit reporters with something. I want to tee up Kevin and Clint with something. Mike Joy may push his talk back and say, I want to tee up Larry on something. But then there's also times that our producer, Chuck McDonald, will come in our ear and go, get it down to Regan, get it down to Jamie, get it down to Josh. Or we're going to go to Chris and Jamie for a 30-second hit. So it's kind of works both ways. Sometimes we will ask to do that. And the way my deal is structured is I can open my mic at any time. And normally it's to talk back to Mike or Clint or Kevin in the other booth, but I can put myself on air or I can take myself off air. So it kind of works a multitude of ways.
Yeah. So talk to me, and this question has to do with one of your good buddies. Talk to me about Darrell Waltrip and your relationship with Darrell. How is it these days? What's it like now that he's not working on Fox?
You know, Darrell and I had never worked together as far as on race teams. We were always competitors against each other. And I go back to my days of working with Robert Yates Racing and Davey Allison. The Allisons and the Waldrop had a pretty strong rivalry. So there were some heated moments with DW as a driver and Larry Mack as a crew chief. But when they created our NASCAR on Fox team in 2001, and they put Mike and Darrell and I together, and we were together in that broadcast booth, shoulder to shoulder, for 15 years. The chemistry was there from the beginning. And yeah, we maybe got better as time went along, but it was really there right from the beginning. And it didn't take long. And I'll go back and watch some old races from back then. Darrell and Mike and I almost could finish each other's sentences. But we also had a relationship outside the broadcast booth. It was very common that Mike and Darrell and I would go have dinner together on Friday night or dinner together on Saturday night. So not only were we co-workers, we were friends, and we still are friends today. Even though Darrell has not been with us since 2019, I talk to him on a pretty regular basis. We'll text all the time. Even though he's been gone for now, 6 years, still miss him. And I don't think I'm probably being a little bit bold here, but I think they honestly, Justin, they can create any broadcast team they want to create, but I don't think you will ever duplicate what we had those 15 years from 2001 to 2015 with Darrell Waltrip, Mike Joy, and Larry McReynolds. I just think the chemistry was there. We stayed in our lanes. Darrell stayed in his lane as far as a driver analyst. I stayed in my lane as far as a crew chief analyst. And Mike Joy did a phenomenal job of being the traffic cop and guiding us where he wanted us to go and what he wanted us to talk about.
So, get 4 more questions and I'll let you go. My next question is, so when you talk about Mike and you talk about your relationship and you talk about Darrell Waltrip, your time with Fox, take me back to those conversations prior to NASCAR on Fox in 2001, when you first found out Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, Darrell Waltrip in the booth. What was that like for you?
Yeah, the TV package for 2001 with Fox doing the first half and NBC doing the second half, that was actually all signed, sealed, delivered just before the 1999 season ended. And pretty much during the off season, by the time we got to Daytona, it had been formally announced that Fox had hired Darrell Waltrip as their driver analyst. I got a call during the off season between 99 and 2000 from the chairman of Fox Sports, David Hill, that introduced himself over the phone, told me who he was, said, I assume you know that we've bought the TV rights for the first half of the season. We don't know who our play-by-play guy is going to be. We've hired Darrell Waltrip as our driver analyst. we'd like to at least have conversation with you about becoming our crew chief analyst. And I didn't even know what to say. I mean, I figured, Justin, I would be a crew chief the rest of my life. And it was a very hard decision. And at the Coke 600 weekend in May of 2000, Mike Joyce still really wasn't on the radar yet, to my knowledge. But for the Xfinity Series race on Saturday, they brought Darrell Waltrip and myself to a kind of a secluded, curtained off area in the Speedway Club. And they actually brought Rick Allen in there as the play-by-play guy. And we just did a mock broadcast for about 50 laps of the Xfinity Series race. I think they just wanted to see how Darrell and I meshed. And it felt good. You know, even though Darrell and I had been casual friends, we never had been best friends. Like I said earlier, we never had worked together, but the chemistry felt good. And then they made an offer to me, and it was a very tough decision. It took me all the way until August to make the decision to do this. And so at that point, it's Darrell and I, and Mike Joy did not become the third person until I think late in 2000. But we went to New York in December of 2000 for our first seminar. And even being in a room with Mike and Darrell and I, you just kind of felt like the chemistry was there. We had never done a practice session. We'd never done a show together, but you just kind of felt like that chemistry was there. And when we got to Daytona for the very first practice session, it didn't take me long to realize this is going to be good. We've got a relationship. The chemistry is there. We understood each other. And I think the thing that made us work is we were all three very different personalities. I was a very buttoned up guy, I's dotted and T's crossed. Mike was kind of just by the seat of his pants, take it one thing at a time. And Darrell was somewhere right in the middle. And I think they say opposites attract. I think we kind of had three opposites there, and we kind of attracted, and the chemistry was just there.
So we're about out of time, but I did want to touch on something, and that was we've been emailing back and forth about this for a while, and I knew it put that you coming back on, and coming on the program for the first time, again, I really put in your time, and this past week, I got to be on top of a pit box. What we've been communicating through email on and off for a while. When you saw that email come through, before I sent that, had NASCAR came to you guys and said, you know what? We have a special pit box that special need fans are going to get to see what it's like to be on top of a pit box, because it's not Larry, and I'll say this right here on Full Throttle. Next year, it goes to 25 races every season, and it's just like a regular pit box. And I just want to know, have you heard of it? And if so, how did you hear about it before I told you?
Yeah, NASCAR had never specifically mentioned it to us, but I'd heard about it. And if I told you how I had heard about it, I'd just be guessing. I don't remember if I had seen it. I don't remember if someone had mentioned it. But one, congratulations on getting to do that at Kansas Speedway this past weekend. I know that had to be quite the experience to be on that pit box right there on pit road. It's quite the environment and quite the experience just to be there. But I think it's amazing what NASCAR and the folks that support this is doing. And hopefully it will only grow and get bigger and better as time moves along. But yeah, I had heard about it kind of through the grapevine, if you might say, but I don't remember if I had seen it or someone had told me about it. But I think it's a very cool deal they're doing.
And I'd be remiss if I did not ask you the cutting. So my final two questions has to do with one, a good buddy of mine suggested this, so shout out to Eli C. Um, but have you heard rumblings about Metro City not being a thing this year? Where do we stand on that as fans? And
On what now? One more time. Where do we stand on what now?
where do we stand on going across the border this year? There's been rumblings that NASCAR might go back on what they're saying about going to the road course in Metro City, or are they still going? Or have you heard?
Oh, I have not heard any rumblings of not. We're less than a month away from going down there. I know they started selling tickets several months ago. I think ticket sales have been well. I know the teams are already preparing for it. My son-in-law is Jordan Anderson, who owns Jordan Anderson Racing and Xfinity Series. Of course, Xfinity's going there too. I know they're already in their preparations, and NASCAR has had several meetings with Xfinity Series teams and with the Cup Series teams. I keep my ear pretty close to the ground, but I have not heard anything. But we're going there. I went there. Xfinity went there in 2005, 6, 7, and 8, 4 consecutive years. And I went there in 5 and 6 because we were covering that race on FX, which was a part of the Fox family. It's a phenomenal facility. The people down there treated us like kings and queens. Yeah, like anywhere you go, you got to be smart. You can't let your guard down. But here we are. We're less than a month away from going. I've not heard anything outside that we will be going there.
All right. And my final question has to do with Clint Boyer. I'd be remiss if I did not say anything about this, but of course I was in Kansas, so I did not want to broadcast, but what's up with Clint Boyer making that mistake on interviewing Kyle Watson live on television, and you guys um getting a big chuckle out of that?
Well, Justin, I've been doing TV 25 years. And if I sat here and told you over the course of those 25 years, Lord only knows how many different shows, how many different races, studio shows, that I didn't make a mistake, I'd be lying to you. It's probably a long list of mistakes. But you know what? The best way to handle that, and that's what we do with Fox, is let's have fun with it. You know, one thing that David Hill, the chairman of Fox Sports that I mentioned earlier, the one that called me about possibly becoming a member of Fox, he laid down 3 ground rules with us in the beginning. And those ground rules still are in play at Fox. You got to tell the story. You have to explain the why. That's important. Tell the viewer why they did this, why this happened. But the third thing, and he always stressed, it may be the last thing I mentioned, but it's the most important thing: have fun. Have fun with each other, because if you're not having fun, there's a good chance the viewer, they're not going to have fun either. You make a mistake, it's live TV. That probably wasn't the last mistake, Clint. It wasn't the first, and it probably won't be the last, just like myself. But you know what? Let's have some fun with it. And that's what we did with that.
So, and my final question is, I'd be remiss to do two things. One is get your prediction for Kyle Watson's Indy 500 attempt this weekend. And two, actually three things. One is, what do you think about Kyle Watson going to Indy 500 live on Fox? And two, who do you think is going to win the championship? Who do you have your eye on as Amazon, TNT, and NBC go to the broadcast booth and Fox goes to the wayside until the 2026 Daytona 500?
So what do I think about Larson running the Indy 500? I think it is phenomenal. You know, we've had a lot of drivers do it. John Andretti was the first to do it, I think, in 1994. Tony Stewart did it a few times. Robbie Gordon, Kurt Busch did it. And of course, last year, Kyle Larson did it and was fast up there. Had it not been for a pit road speeding penalty, I don't know that he was going to win the race, but he was going to walk out of there with a pretty good finish. I just hate that weather affected the whole project. Weather affected the Indy 500, and then obviously weather affected the Coke 600 and deteriorated him getting down here. I think Kyle doing the double, Justin, it's not just good for IndyCar racing. It's not just good for NASCAR. I think it's good for motorsports. There will be a lot of eyeballs watching both those races because of what's going on. A guy is trying to do a 500-mile race in an IndyCar and then several hours later do 600 miles in a NASCAR Cup Series stock car. And I think he'll be fast up there again. I've been watching practice. I think he'll be fast. We know he'll be fast at the Coke 600 in that 5 car. But I do like the fact that a lot because of a rule that NASCAR made, that Rick Hendrick Motorsports, the folks he's driving for up there, Arrow McLaren, they have said there's a line in the sand. No matter what, the number one priority is that 5 car at the Coke 600. No matter what's going on at Indy, he's going to be back to take the green flag in that 5 car in the Coke 600. I think that's important. As far as who's going to win the championship, Justin, you know, we're just barely, we're not even quite halfway through the regular season. 12 down, 14 to go at a lot of different racetracks. Then we've got the 10 playoff races. And the reason I don't know if I can sit here and tell you who's going to win the championship, I go back to the last 3 years. 2022, Joey Logano. 2023, Ryan Blaney. 2024, Joey Logano. We were not even hardly talking about those drivers at this point of the season, because what happens, you get to the playoffs and teams and organizations, they just seem to flip a playoff switch. And I guarantee you 2025 won't be any different. Yeah, right now, today, I'd probably sound pretty foolish to not say Kyle Larson. He's got the same amount of wins as Christopher Bell. Both of them have 3 wins. He's got more top 5s than any driver. He's got more top 10s than any driver. He's got more playoff points than any driver. But I promise you, there's somebody laying in the weeds like the last 3 years that we're not even talking about.
And my final thing I want to do is I want to thank you for your time and consideration live on air, for taking the time to get to know my fans of Full Throttle. And Larry, I have a special way I want to get it been. Larry McReynolds, Justin Putzer, are Full Throttle. Goodbye, everyone. And boogie, boogie, boogie. Let's go All-Star Racing this weekend.